All right, welcome everybody to our webinar number 3 of our 6-part leadership and corporate coach training series that we're doing. The first 2 webinars that we did happened in December. It is now January, and the first webinar was about how to create trust with groups and with teams. Our second webinar was around organizational dynamics. Karen flew solo on that one. I had some family obligations that I had to be a part of. But we're back together today where we're going to actually talk about the new rules of leadership coaching. So I'm going to go ahead and flip on our screen share so that we can do a screen share with our slides, and we'll get going. Sound good?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So let me play from the start. And there we go. So this is going to be today's agenda. So I'm Jen Barley alongside with Karen Sullivan. And if you want to find out any of our backgrounds, you can go ahead and watch the first webinar to be able to learn a little bit more about us, or go to our website at kickstartyouredge.com or Kickstart Your Leadership, and our bios and information are there. But we really have a pretty action-packed class going on here. So we just want to go ahead and jump right into the content of what it is that we want to talk about. So today we're going to talk about who are you as a leadership coach, what are the 7 new rules to be a leadership coach, how to get there, and then some Q&A. So Karen and I were talking about this today, and what we find is that companies are being more and more selective about who they're hiring. And it's about more so than just, asking powerful questions. When companies want to engage in leadership coaches or team coaches, or even if you're doing group coaching, there's so much more that's required than just being able to listen deeply and ask powerful questions and sticking with the client's agenda. So we thought that we would share some of our tips and trends that we've been seeing over our years and experience of doing this.
And I think one of the big parts about this, Jen, is, and we're going to talk about this in a sec, is recognizing where you are, because it's you got to know where you are to figure out where it is that you want to go. And I always love to use the, kind of like the analogy of a GPS, right? So if I sit here and say, okay, great, I want to go to San Francisco, and I plug in San Francisco as the direction, but where am I starting from? Am I starting from Florida? Am I starting from California? Am I starting from Santa Cruz? Like, where am I starting from? And I think that that's a big part, because so many times people are like, oh, I want to go to San Francisco. Let's just go. And they start to move. And I always encourage the movement because I like the action piece of it. But sometimes you wind up going a little bit backwards, or you go a little bit sideways because you're not really sure where you're starting. So it's about understanding where you are before it really is understanding where it is that you really need to go.
So let's go ahead and ask, where are you as a leadership coach, right? So I want you to think, and you could just jot down some ideas in the chat. Where's your confidence level? What is your skill set? What are your tools? Where do you feel great about where you are? Where are you unsure about where you are? Just sort of thinking about, who am I as a leadership coach today, on this particular day, with everything that you've acquired along your way, and also everything that's still out there to be learned. So go ahead and just jot down some thoughts in the chat, and let's find out from you on your current, as of today, where are you as a leadership coach?
Also, you could throw in there too, like, where is it that you feel really comfortable? Where is it that perhaps that you're like, hey, okay, this is my crutch? Or what's my go-to tool? Or what's my tool when I'm sitting there going, oh crap, what do? I pull this out of my bag of tricks. So those kind of things. But where are you today as a leadership coach?
I love it. So we have a few people typing in here. Sydney says she's a wannabe. Deb says a badass in the making, which we happen to know is a true statement.
He is a badass.
Yep. Melissa says, I bring 12 plus years of HR and facilitation, so I feel good about my skills. Where I'm struggling is building a business. Okay. David says, I have programs I can run. I'm very comfortable running unique programs. I haven't jumped in on the marketing aspects. I have run leadership programs within my corporation, but no funding.
We gotta have you change that.
Beth says, I have the working experience in corporate and the most amazing training from the two of you. I'm well on my way to being, oh, I blended. That was Barbara. I have the working experience in corporate and the amazing training from the two of you, as I'm well on my way to being a rock star.
You are a rock star.
I feel good in most industries. Always have that feeling of I don't know enough. I want to learn about brain-based coaching. Great. Trish says, I have 14 plus years of senior management experience in entrepreneurial companies. I'm trying to marry that with the coach training I received. I love it. So how do you blend in the two? Lori says, I'm launching a recovery coach training coaching business. I'm just starting out. Lisa says, currently an internal leadership coach. Very comfortable coaching with our corporate tools. Not so sure how to translate this to an external market, ELI 360. And she's taking the CIQ class and Dare to Lead. So great. 5 out of 10, sometimes an 8, most at a 6. And I'm a low on hard copy tools. So great. So we have a wide variety there. Karen and I, as we have ebbed and flowed and grown as leadership coaches and working in corporate, this is something we periodically have to ask ourselves. Where are we now, and where is it that we want to be? And then how are we going to close that gap to be able to get there? So these are questions that we do all the time. We do an inventory of what are our tools? What do we currently have? What are our skills? What are our connections? What are our marketing messages? Where are we, and where do we need to go so that we're pulling out the right map?
I think one of these things too, Jen, what somebody said, I think it was Beth, regarding, she's good in most industries, but she's really curious about the brain-based coaching. It's funny, Beth, and I'm not going to go off on a tangent here, but it's interesting when you can go into a corporation and you can have a conversation with them about neuroscience. And that's part of a program that Jen and I do, but we talk neuroscience a lot. Because then you're not talking that theory kind of thing. Well, yeah, okay, this is the pie in the sky kind of thing that you're looking for. But when you can talk neuroscience and you can say, okay, when this happens, and then this happens, you get so much attention. And I feel like for us, it automatically puts us in a different spot, because they're like, hey, these people aren't just coming in here with these pie in the sky theories. They have something that's going to back up what they're talking about. So I like the whole thing that people are getting more interested in that. So kudos to you, Beth, for looking for that brain-based stuff.
Perfect. So let's ask the next question that we have. So that's about where you are as a leadership coach. The question is, where do you want to be? If you were to go out a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, people do different ways of looking at time frames. It could be over the next month. Different time frames work differently for people. It's about then how have you crafted who you want to be and where do you want to be as a leadership coach, say a year from now?
And I think that's a good time frame for right now, because sometimes I feel like people go too far out and I go, in 5 years, I want to be, wherever. And I love that you have the vision, but I think when you start to fit in, and I would encourage people to create that vision, but for the shorter, some people say shorter term, the shorter term year, like if you're sitting here and you're going, okay, it's January 10th, 2020. Wow, that sounds like George Jetson years. But you're 2020, like what's going to be different for you? And so where is it that you want to be? What's going to be different? Are you going to be in the same office? Are you going to have your own office? Have you left a corporate position? Have you, created partnerships with people? But where is it that you want to be with your skills? Where is it you want to be with your business? So all these things factor in here to where do you want to be.
Love it. We have one coming in from Melissa, fully leveraging My skills and gifts to help more women lead authentically and powerfully to change the world. Too much? Not at all. Stacy says, I want to have developed a signature workshop that I know brings about sustainable change and is more than just a run-of-your-mill leadership training. And I'm comfortable navigating team dynamics in most dysfunctional of places. Claire says, I'd love to be offering retreats for executives to detox from their busy lifestyle. Lori shares, I want to have retired from a full-time job where I'm currently, it's going too fast, and have a robust training program offering I can deploy and enjoy financial freedom. Also have a client roster to coach those affected by addiction and make a difference in their lives. Diana says, I want to support leaders who are interested in shifting the dominant paradigm around corporate culture. Shorthand explanation, moving it from a level 2 environment, which is conflict, frustration, ego-based, to level 6, which is more flow, synchronicity, and connection, more from a systems approach. Sarah says, I want to have a couple of corporate clients that I work on retainer with as their part-time in-house coach 3 days a week, and the other 2 spent writing Hogan selection reports. Fantastic. Austin says, I'm going to be recognized as one of the best leadership coaches in the UK, the coach who gets sure results with high potentials that exceed their potential. Love that. And from David, I have it in my heart, the ability to create programs for startups and small companies. So excellent. Here's what I love about all of this is it's thinking about just beyond the one-on-one coaching. So the big question then becomes, what do you think is in the way? So we have where you are, where you want to be, and what's in the way. So if you were to say, what do you need to learn? What do you need to do? What do you need to get off your ass about? What do you need to reach out to people? Some people say my current job, right? Financial pressures, there's not enough time. Looking to capitalize on opportunity to do some leadership training overseas. Sarah says marketing and confidence. Beth says manpower for me. I need to be more than just one person. Let's see. Nothing is in the way. It's all unfolding in perfect time. Another wants more belief. Trish says doubting my skills. So good. Those are interesting, right? So being able to figure that out, because that's then where you can focus your energy and your effort. And I can relate to all of these on different levels. And then it's about, if there's not enough time, how are you maximizing the time that you do have to put your energy in the direction that it needs to go. Sanders says some specific knowledge and training in the area of neuroscience. Tougher piece is probably my self-doubt. And Lisa says nothing. I'm on the way to achieving my goals. Fantastic. Anything you wanted to throw in there, Kara, before we go into our 7 new rules?
So one of the things that popped out for me right there with, and it was actually before the what's in the way, it's about the, I think it was Stacy who said to, you know, the ideal thing would be to come up with, I think she says, I don't know, something that's not a run-of-the-mill thing. So I think that one of the big things, we're going to talk about this in a little bit, is being different. And I think that, Stacy, that's really a great thing to start to think about, is what can you do different? And Jen and I are going to tell a story in a little bit about something that we decided to do different. Well, we like to do a lot of things different.
We do.
You know, you check out our website, our vibe, our brand, that whole thing. We feel like it's a little bit different. We're not afraid to, you know, call people on their shit. We're not afraid to curse. We're not afraid to, well, sometimes Jen is, but we're not afraid to, you know, kind of just be that no nonsense thing. So when you're thinking about what it is that you want to create, and, you know, and the what's in the way piece, it's asking yourself sometimes, what are some of the thoughts that you have about, you know, not being able to be there. And I think that it was at the end here, somebody said, yeah, sometimes it's about that self-doubt. So it's the things that are in the way. It's really getting real with yourself to be able to figure out, okay, great, what is that? Because if you don't know what's in the way, you're not going to be able to move it. You're not going to be able to get through it, right? You're not going to be able to get through it. You might not be able to get around it. Figuring out which way you want to go with that.
All right, so let's jump into the 7 new rules of leadership coaching and what we've learned, and we're going to share some stories, some tips, some ideas on how to be able to come over them. Okay, so the first number 1 rule is you are more than individual sessions, and you need to be more than individual sessions. Today, with the many companies that we work with and we interact with, and sometimes we submit a proposal and a lot of times we get them, sometimes we don't. But what we've heard through all of our experiences is that people are not just looking for a one-on-one coach where you say, yes, I'll come in and I'll do these 12 sessions, or I'll work with you for 6 months with a person to be able to provide X, Y, and Z. It's really about companies that are looking to be more selective about who they hire. They want to know what your process is, your methodology. They want to know your approach. They want to be able to say, here's the objectives that I have. What can you put together for us? That's most likely, we have found, I'm going to say, I think it's fair to say, with all of our engagements, with the exception of one, which ironically we didn't get, people want a program. So we're having a prospect meeting with one company, and we were sharing what it is that we do and these programs and our approaches and the way we work and how we've helped teams before. And they're like, yeah, we're just, right now what we're looking for are individual coaches to be able to have as external coaches. And that wasn't a great fit for us and where we are and really what our expertise is. So it's about realizing that, yes, there's one-on-one sessions, but there's also assessments. How are you with doing 360s? If you need to come in and train on something, if you need to do group coaching, if you're going to be doing a interactive series at a sales conference, how do you bundle and package it to be able to be not be a one-hit wonder in whatever it is that you want to do?
So Jen, I think that to add to that, with the companies being more selective, it's interesting because, coaching was that thing a couple years ago that it was that elusive thing. It's like, what is it? People weren't really sure what it was. Some people thought it was for high potential. Some people thought it was for people that are on performance improvement plans. People were just making up what they actually thought it was, which wasn't necessarily a bad thing for us back then. But what's happening is the coaching, and I can't say profession because we're not considered a profession yet. The coaching industry has started to evolve. And what I mean by that is that these HR professionals are looking for people, like Jen said, who has a process, who has a methodology. What are the things that actually work? What are your street creds? What is it that you're bringing to the table? What are your credentials? Do you have a master's degree? Do you have your PCC certifications? Because with a lot of different places, and if you're going to start to look, especially in the government area and a lot of different industries where they put out what they call an RFP, which is a request for proposals, a lot of those now are looking for people with their PCC, which is the professional credential from the ICF. So it's understanding that it's not just, okay, great, I'm just going to show up with my little smile and no credentials and they're going to just hire me.
And so, yes, and it's all of that experience about how you can come in, and the value add that you bring is going to be more than just individual sessions. So even let's say that you are a subcontractor for somebody. There's an organization that you're a part of their coaching bench, and you do individual sessions for them, and they go out and you go out to companies and work on things. You, with your relationship with that provider, the person that the company that hired you, you have to think more than individual sessions. How are you going to bring value add back to them about their opportunities? What other business can they create? So it's really just realizing this isn't just a hour session here and an hour session there. It's about how do you partner to provide solutions to the organization that you're working with.
And Jen, I just want to answer from Brian, what are our favorite assessments that resonates with companies? And we like it, I forget what the name of it is now, the team assessment. So we use a team assessment, but we also, our go-to assessment, I would say right now, is really the EQI. The EQI 2.0, because what's happening is that's an assessment that can complement other assessments. And you're right, there's a lot of people are on Strength Finders right now, and they love Strength Finders. The cool thing about Strength Finders and EQI is that they complement each other. So you can use both, and you can see what people's natural strengths are. But then when you put that together with their emotional intelligence, it's almost like you have both of these things and they're on steroids. So I like both of them.
Yes, we are certified. And then we also do 5 dysfunctions as a team of a team. That's a great one. And then we also have a team coaching certification that looks at the productivity and the engagement level of teams and being able to assess that dynamic. That one's great for, for productivity and engagement in teams, so, which is great. And then there's a whole bunch of other things out there. So let's save some more of those assessment questions at the end. Sound good?
Perfect.
Okay. The next new rule of leadership coaching is you have to be able to talk an ROI impact game, right? So you have to be able to speak to the impact that you've made in organizations, the potential impact you can make in organizations. You have to be able to think through with each and every program that you do, what's going to be the before and what's going to be the after, and how are you going to gather that information? What examples can you use? What case studies? How are you going to be able to showcase the power? If somebody's looking at a budget number and they're looking at investing in one-on-one coaching or team plus one-on-one coaching, how do you sell that additional dollar spend to be able to provide the ROI? How do you actually look at what could be different within the organization based on what it is that you see? Karen and I do this in many different ways, right? So one is we actually have case studies of people that we worked with, organizations, the before, the after, what we've learned about. We also have a quick hit list that we like to be ready on demand when we're meeting with somebody and they say something to the effect of, well, what have you done, with 2 teams coming together? So then we can quickly talk some bullet points out. So we have some printed material we have for our presentation, our capabilities briefing, but then also our key bullet points in our head. We actually then will bring things to the very personal level as well. So we'll talk about the impact not only to the team, but to the individual, which therefore impacts the organization.
And one of the things, Jen, just to piggyback on that is, people, and it's about collecting data, like in some way collecting some data at the end of your engagement or at the, whatever it is. If it's a 6-hour workshop, great, get data at the end of it. If it's a 6-month program, okay, great. You can get data at different points in between, but you want to know what the starting point is and what the ending point is so people can see. So we did this, just for example, with this part that I'm kind of talking about is we did a program, a 9-month program with an organization. And it was basically about the leadership as coaching as a leadership skill. And we had a survey from them at the end, but what we did was we said, okay, where were you when you started, as far as how comfortable you were with coaching and with being able to have conversations and all these different things. So we figured out where they were when they started, and then at the end where they were on a scale of 1 to 10. And we were able to see that with those numbers, the numbers jumped like crazy. So being able to show that to another organization and say, okay, great, here's the percentage of the increase in this. And it can go from anything from, we did one program with a company on values and how comfortable and how familiar were you with the values of this company when you walked in the door, and then how familiar and comfortable were you when you were leaving? How connected were you to them before? How connected are you to them now? And again, those numbers, they were blowing up for us because people like numbers, not me, but people like numbers. I like numbers when they help us, right? And I don't like to have to put them in Excel spreadsheets. But when you can show somebody right off the bat that, okay, here's something that we did that was 9 months. Here's something that we did that was 3 hours. Here's the numbers. So you got to be able to throw those things back at people. It's really important.
Very cool. All right, I'm going to keep moving on. We got a lot to cover, right? Yes. Okay, great. So this is the new rule number 3. This is what we call the yes and mindset. So the people that you talk to are going to be experts in their business. You're going to be expert in how your programs work with the business. What has the impact? What of your experience have you noticed works really well? What do teams respond to? So based on the last slide of knowing the ROI and the impact, it's about having this yes and mindset. So what this means is that you have your counterparts at, the people at the organization share their ideas. And then it's how do you say yes and to help shape their ideas on what's going to really make a big difference. So, Kara, do you want to talk about the story that we just experienced this last on Sunday?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of which part of the story. So
you want me to tee it up?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so we were asked to, a company that we work with, and we've done a lot of work with them over the last couple of years, touched many different people within their organization. They got a really interesting idea where they asked us to come and be a part of their team to present to their customer. So they do a train the trainer where it's usually product knowledge. This is all the ins and outs of our products so that you can go out and train your people on how to sell the products.
So, and it was really good because the woman that we were working with is very open. But it's funny because she's very open, but she also sent us like a 4 or 5 page document with almost like, okay, I want you to say this, and I want you to say this, and I want you to say this. All these different things about stress. And we said to her, yes, this is some great information, but kind of how much do you trust us to kind of go with our way of doing things? And with being able to say, okay, great, this is about your customers, and this is about what it is that you want them to get out of this time together. But we really feel like the way that we can make the biggest impact and to really leave a lasting kind of impression with these people is to bring them through an experience instead of just discussing stress and saying, okay, well, it's about your sleep. Okay, it's about, your exercise. Okay, it's about all these other things. Let's really take them through an experience and have them feel something and be in a spot where they're open to something different. And that's the key with this. And it's funny because we got up at like 5 o'clock. It was on a Sunday. It was 5 o'clock. These people had been in trainings since 9 o'clock in the morning. And it's funny because they're used to getting like gifts. They're used to getting prizes. And the people before us did the gifts thing. They did the prizes thing. And it's funny. We got up there and I just said, all right, so just a heads up for you guys. You're not getting any presents. We don't have any gifts. We have 0 prizes. And I want you to flip your phone over and put it in the middle of the table. So not only you're not getting anything, now you're taking something away from them. And we wanted you, and we told them, this is going to be different. And we started off that way. So this piece here about knowing what your clients really want from them, but giving them what it is that you really feel like they need. What else you want to throw in with that, Jen?
So the interesting thing is that it was because they wanted to create impact and they wanted to do something different. That was their goals. They didn't want to teach product and it had to be a well-being moment. The reason that it worked out so well is because we know how to have impact and have people pay attention. And it's more about a mindset. And so we did our 75 minutes and it worked perfect. And the response was that we've never seen anything like this, especially during a train the trainer, and the stickability is going to be huge with it. So it's always about how do you say yes and the requirement for leadership coaching is that you're going to be a thought partner with people on how to have the best programs. A lot of times people are like, we need to do A, B, and C, and then you have to figure out how do you augment it based on your own experience. This is another great, this is great. So this is really good for the new rules of continuing work within companies. It's about being able to connect the dots. It's about being able to share observations and have what are affectionately called bounce meetings. So we got that term from somebody else, but a bounce meeting is an after the fact meeting where you're able to say, how did the training go? But it's about going in as an expert to be able to say things like, so we want to share some observations and then some recommendations, and scheduling that as part of the proposal that you have, that you'll do the work and then you'll have these bounce meetings. Because what's fantastic about it is then you get to propose how you're going to fix any things that you saw, right? So the observations are X, Y, and Z, and then here's my recommendations about how to do it. Our recommendation to you is to have recommendations that are small, recommendations that are big, and also some, not all, 1 or 2 recommendations they can implement themselves, right? So an observation is the team still isn't having honest communication and people are holding back. The recommendation is blah, 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 blah. The team is, I'm just making this up, right? So the team really seems frustrated by their Monday morning sales meetings. The recommendation is that you actually have a meeting about the meeting. Here's 15 questions you can ask in that meeting. So then we give them the tool to be able to do that. And so it's what's known as problem, solution, problem, right? So they have a problem, we give them a solution, and in theory, it creates a new problem. So Beth wants to know who attends the bounce meetings, and it's your point of contact, right? So the person who is approving you being at that company, the decision makers, and the people who hold the budget, right? So, but they're typically the people that are hiring you to be able to come into the organization. We have done this with huge success. What were you going to say, Kara?
And I was going to say, and sometimes what happens with these bounce meetings, the experience that the individuals have had with you, what has happened for us sometimes is that they liked it so much, they start bringing new people in. So this one organization that we were doing some work with, we did some work with their marketing team, and we had a bounce meeting, and they said, hey, we want to bring somebody in from sales. And then the cool part about that is during that meeting, then the sales guy was just like, wow, I really like this. Now we want to do something with sales. So in addition to getting more marketing work, we got a new gig with sales. So when they ask, hey, you know, could we bring somebody else to this next meeting? The answer is yes, you can bring somebody else. You don't want to make it a big giant meeting, but you want to make it a meeting where you can provide enough information, where you can help them connect the dots. You can tell them what you saw, and basically really kind of show up as, okay, great. This is where confidence comes in. You got to be really solid in your recommendation, what it is that you see, and then, you know, some next steps and the possible next steps.
And this is not a time that you actually need to put pricing on any of this. It is observations, recommendations, no pricing. Because then they'll say, oh, I like this, oh, I noticed this, or and you can go back and put on pricing. But in the bounce meeting, this isn't it. It's just recommendations, and then about having the conversation. One other quick little thing that I'll share, and then we need to move on, is that, so Karen and I went this summer to a sales meeting where we led, I don't remember how long it was, approximately 3 hours long. It was 250 people were in the room. It was actually a workshop. They broke up into small groups. They did all this stuff. It was really, really great. So we also knew it was their sales meeting for a week. And so we had one leadership meeting while we were there, and we had the sales meetings on the books, right? Those were the ones we were. We planned to be there the entire week. So all general sessions, we were in the room, in the back of the room, just attending it, right? So we weren't getting paid for it. We didn't have anything to do with it, but we were just there and attending it. And the reason is so that we can connect dots and we could have observations and recommendations of what did we hear and what did we see, what did we notice. We also then said, hey, are there any breakout sessions you want us to pop into and just see how we can help? And the answer was yes, 3. See this group, see that group, see the other group. Karen and I went in, which we're going to talk about, with no agenda. We just went in and said, hey, we were told by so-and-so that we should pop in and see what's going on. How can we help you guys in the next hour? They'll tell you, oh, we want to get inspired about this. We're having trouble with communication about that. We're unsure about how to have healthy conflict. They'll totally tell you. Then it's about being in that room, giving some tips, leaving, and then saying, here are some observations. So we did that. We got, I'd have to look, but I'm going to say, I think 6 additional gigs out of that Vegas trip because we just bounced all the way to the bank.
and I think one of these things too, Jen, even if you just think about what we just did in Texas. So we were supposed to be there for one meeting with a team. Then another team asked if we can come out and we can meet with them, which was great. And that's all that we were supposed to do. But then that team actually asked, well, hey, listen, can you guys meet with our team after, the next day? And we were like, yeah, sure, we can meet with your team the next day. So it's about being available then, and what's going to happen from that second meeting that we had with this group of people. We're going to come together to develop even more things with them. So it's being able to see those opportunities all over the place. It's being able to spot the trends. It's being able to connect the dots and figure out what are the new areas of opportunities that other people aren't seeing, because you're in the back when you're first paying attention to what's going on. What is it that you're seeing because you're not actually in it?
All right, perfect. Let's move on. Number 5. The new rule is you got to have a deep toolbox. One tool is not going to carry you. This is
the wheel of life is not going to be your go-to tool.
Exactly. So this is about having in your bag of tricks a whole bunch of different tools that you're able to pull out on the fly, sometimes even in the middle of a training. So we have been in many situations where we had a plan. What did we say? Mike Tyson, what's he say?
Everybody has a plan till they get punched in the face.
That's right. So we've had a plan and we've been there and we've done our thing. And in the middle, we're like, this isn't what the team needs.
And we got punched in the face.
Yeah. And then but the key thing is how do you regroup? How do you pull out another tool? How do you, in your mind, know a quick little exercise you can use here or you can use there? And it's about being able to read the energy of the room, what's happening, who you're working with, and sometimes having to put things aside. So it's about knowing how your concepts connect. The tools that you have to link it will give you the stickability that you really need to go forward. I'm just going to keep on going, Kara. It looks like we're at about 12:38.
12:39.
All right, perfect. So the number 6 is for leadership coaching, emotional intelligence is all the rage, right? It is what's being talked about. It's what's being explored. It's what's being highly misunderstood, if you want to know the truth, in organizations. So it's about how do you bring an emotional intelligent component to the work that you do. It's going to show up in many different ways. But what people are starting to do is connect emotional intelligence to the cultures they're trying to either correct, change, ebb, or augment. So really looking at how emotions play into all of it and being okay to talk about feelings in corporate, even when you don't use the EQ term, right? So being able to realize that everybody puts their pants on in the same way, and although people have a lot of fronts they put on in business for many different reasons, what goes below that TFAR, the thoughts, the feelings, the actions, and the results, the feelings and the way they are communicated, expressed, encouraged are game changers for teams who want to go to the next level.
I think one of the things too here is that emotional intelligence. It's funny, we talk about leadership and emotional intelligence. Some people are like, wow, that's like an oxymoron. But this is the thing. This is one of those soft skills now that just sets people apart. You know, being able to come in here and say, hey, you can talk emotional intelligence, you can do an assessment, you can do 360s. It's really about understanding, you know, helping people see what it is. Again, like, what is it that's going to be the most beneficial thing? Because when we can figure out and help people, and this can sound weird, but wrap their heads around the emotions, that's when the sustainability, or what we like to call the stickability, happens.
So this is a great question from Diana. It says, oh, great, thank you. So Scott says, please restate TFAR. It's thoughts, feelings, actions, and results. Our thoughts create our feelings, that create our actions, that therefore determine our results. Diana says, how do you share an observation that the client is misunderstanding emotional intelligence? So it depends on how they're misunderstanding it. There's different ways. So an observation I have is that this team is very comfortable expressing 2 emotions, and the rest all get swept under the carpet. That's an observation. It could even be, the observation is that the emotional intelligence is just being, the surface is being scratched on emotional intelligence that is leaving, where people are leaving disconnected and less engaged. I'm kind of going off the top of my head here, but it's about using that. You don't have to say, wow, you really have a basic understanding of emotional intelligence, right? It's more about the observations are how that's showing up. What are the team dynamics? What are people doing? An observation is that 3 team members tend to withdraw when things get uncomfortable or feel heated. It could even be that an observation is, with the split in the room between extroverts and introverts, half the team is not being able to express the way they feel in a way that supports the way they think. Those would be examples of different ways. It really depends on what it is.
And I think as part of this too, like I was saying, this is, people get this now. Some people are still a little bit resistant to it, but people understand this now. People are really like, okay, that's the thing that's missing from my toolkit. Because there's a lot of leaders out there who, you know, are great at what they do. And then if they could add this emotional intelligence component to, you know, their tool belt and really be able to understand themselves and understand people, it's another one of those things where it's like they have their own superpower.
Love it. All right, Carrie, you ready for the last one?
Let's be epic, Jen.
Well, let's be epic in relationship building. Karen, go.
Okay, so the E is about establishing rapport, right? So the relationship building, and that's what this is all about, just for the record, in case you guys haven't picked up on any of the stuff that we're talking about. Relationships are everything. And it's about how do you develop those relationships with the people that you're working with, that you want to work with. But the E in this epic thing that I just kind of made up was establish rapport. So you want to be able to establish rapport with people, and in a sincere, genuine kind of way. One of the ways that I like to do this too is different people that I'm working with, whether I see like an article or something, after I have a conversation with them, I'll send that article. I'll be like, hey, I just saw this quote. It made me think of you. So that actually establishes even more of a rapport and builds more of a relationship with people. The P is about people skills. This is understanding people. This is about improving your people skills, understanding human behavior, what makes people tick, because that's really important. That's a big, big part of the relationship building. The I don't. All right, so I had written down something else, Jen. So, and this is funny because in my notes right here, you have understanding who they are, but it's about the impact of when you understand who they are. Sorry about that, guys. And the C. It's funny. So I come up with acronyms all the time, and Jen thinks she's going to help me by jotting down our notes, which is great, and I so totally appreciate it. But when she changes the acronym from my I with making an impact to understanding who people are, it jacks up my acronym, Barley. So anyway, the I is about impact. So the impact of the relationships that you're actually building, and then the C is about that true connection. It's the connection that you have, and what do you need to do to continue the connection with people. So I'm just curious, Jen, with this laughing right here, you're probably like, I had no idea that was even an acronym.
I had no clue. not.
Yeah.
Karen, so it's interesting. Brian had asked earlier about strength finders, and we've done strength finders before, and Karen's forte tends to be a little bit more of the relationship building. So now you see why, right? So can you repeat the P, Karen?
The P is the people skills.
All right.
The I is the impact. The C is the true connection. And the connection after, like the connection at the end, right? It's that real true connection about what, making it meaningful. So in the beginning, it's the rapport and the establishing a rapport. And at the end, it's about that true connection.
I love it. I'm so sorry. I had no idea, Karen. We've been going a little fast and furious. Fair to say?
Oh, insane.
Fair to say. So the thing is that as you guys now are looking at where you are as a leadership coach and where do you want to be, it's then how do these items actually help you get there, right? So how can you feel like a 10 out of 10 on relationship building? How can you bring emotional intelligence into the work that you do? How can you start to get more strategic with the connecting of the dots? So, which is good. Oh, Sherry just joined us. Hi, Sherry. I saw your Facebook post today, and I have questions about what you're going to be doing. So I'm very curious to see what's going on. Okay, so Janet wants to know, what can you share if you're just starting out with corporations and not having case studies? So Janet, a lot of this then is going to be on the impact that you've seen with people, right? So the people that you've worked with one-on-one, which I know that you've done, right? And you've done a lot of different work there. It's about then what is the impact that you have on that particular person? How is their life different? What is it? And trying to think of key terms that are important to organizations, right? So communication, productivity, engagement, fulfillment, strategy, bottom line, whatever that is, and how you can tie that in. And being able to be able to speak to what that is. And sometimes it's going to be softer things, and sometimes it's going to be the harder ROI. So, okay, good. So, okay, here's what we want to do. Kier, how are we doing on time? I realize, I feel like I'm in A casino. I have no clock in here.
Do you have an oxygen tank and cigarettes? No, it's 12:50.
Okay, great. So here's what we want to do. We want to go ahead and share with you guys a program that we have, and then we're going to open it up for Q&A. So this is going to be just a short little brief overview of what it is, and then we can do the Q&A. We do have a corporate leadership and coach training program that is starting in May, and I wanted to give you some highlights about what that is, and then also what you would learn, and then where to find more information. So basically it's a 20-week program where you get 2 certifications. One of the certification is through the EQI 2.0, which is a great emotional intelligence certification that has an individual component as well as a 360 component. We actually give you a boatload of leadership and corporate tools that you learn how to use. You get the instructions on how to use them. And in some cases, we actually give you the physical materials that you need to be able to implement them. They could be cards or signs or different elements for that. You also get a personal mentor coach, a mentor coach, and that is to be able to help you with the skill of coaching and being able to be more efficient, get your sessions down to half-hour sessions for your individuals, and how to really make an impact that corporate is expecting for you to have. There's a dedicated interactive Facebook group, which is absolutely amazing for ideas, collaboration. In our last group, many people even partnered together on different kinds of projects to be able to work on, and did a lot of masterminding. There's a lot of content that you learn. It's about 247-page manual. Well, you get 2 manuals, but a total of 247 pages. We also are in process of being ICF approved for ACSHTP. And then also you get access to Karen and I. We're leading it. We're teaching it. We also are with Cheryl Wilson and Carrie Doring, but you get access to be able to pick our brain, to get our best practices, to Karen and I will often listen to what the group needs and make tools up on the fly for you to be able to use. There are 2 certifications. There's the EQI 2.0 certification and then the Get Real Leadership and Corporate Coach Program certification as well.
It's funny. Jenna, it's funny. You were talking about the access to us for support. I couldn't even say how many times we've been in the car. And it's just like, boom, let's get in the car and let's jump on a call with whoever it is that actually needs help. So whether we're driving to Philly, talking to somebody out west, whether we're, in Florida, going somebody or talking to somebody from the South, I mean, we just love jumping on the phone and helping people. And that's the thing too. You do have access to us, and you have access to a bunch of other people that really want to succeed, really want to make things work. And I know that you said that people have partnered on different things in the last group. They've partnered and they've gone into corporations. They've gone into pretty big corporations together with what they learned in addition to the collaboration that they came up with together. But it was, they've had a lot of success, and it's been really fun for us to watch that.
It's been great. And so this slide here just shows all the different types of topics that we weave in. And the 20 weeks, the way it works is that we have an in-person weekend in May. Then we have 18 weeks of virtual training. And then we have an in-person weekend in September. So that's because a lot of what we teach is experiential, is you have to experience the tool in order to be able to go back and use the tool with people, and then plus coaching intensives, etc. So those are, and then we have very specific topics because people want to know what work can you do with executive presence. I have a team of high potential people who need tons of help with executive presence. So how are you able to speak on that? What does that actually mean? What are some different options? Claire wants to know if the EQ training is online. We have 2 options with that. It's people's choice, right? So we have a virtual option, or you can attend in person if you want to. That location would be Virginia. So we partner with a great but a great organization to be able to do the assessment. And then what Karen and I do afterwards is we teach you, here are additional tools on understanding the EQI subscales. Here's how you lead groups using it, etc. Oh, good. We have some of our people who have been on our program that are here. So Barbara's sharing, phenomenal program, packed with value, grateful for all of it. J and K are so supportive. The May and September dates we do have. I know the May at the top of my head is May 4th and 5th. September, I don't have, and I can't look that up right now, but maybe perhaps Karen can.
I will.
The other thing is, let me go ahead and put up here. This is where you can find out a little bit more information. It's just kickstartyouredge.com/coach training. And just realize also, we'll hop on the phone and answer any questions. Karen and I are big believers that if it's a good fit, you'll know it. But if you have questions, it's no hard sales. It's just we have seen what the first cohort has been able to accomplish. And it's pretty phenomenal to be able to do that.
Just stop talking for 1 second. Saturday, the September 21st and 22nd. And both of these classes are in New Jersey. First one is going to be, we're gonna exploit the hell out of Greetings from Asbury Park. But the first class is gonna be there May 4th and May 5th. And then the second one, we're not 100% sure, but it's gonna definitely be in New Jersey, but most likely a little bit further north.
Yeah, there's a big beach thing happening, and it's crazy expensive for people to get hotel rooms. So let's see. We will have office hours again, like last time, Karen. We have office hours set up for next week.
We do.
Can you say when those are, please?
Yep, from 2 to 4 on Wednesday the 16th. And that essentially for office hours for that is call us, 732-851-3343, and we'll be more than happy to jump on the phone between those 2 hours. And also email us. Jen, did you put it? I'm looking at the calendar, but email us, Jen@kickstartyouredge.com or Karen@kickstartyouredge.com. And just email us, and we'll be more than happy to set up a time to hop on the phone with you guys.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be. That was Eastern time for the office hours, which is 2 to 4. We'll put it out in an email. We also have Erica Marks and Alan Cohen who are available at that time to be able to answer any questions as well. So we can get that figured out.
I got to tell you, Jen, I love too. We got all these high fives and kudos coming in from Barry recommending the program, Barbara, Joanne, Deb Degner. Thanks, guys. We so appreciate that. And and it was cool to be able to watch them go through it and and all the amazing things they're doing.
I know, it's been fun. We have kept a group together where people then will go and share, this is what I did at an organization, right? Here was my agenda. Here's what I covered. Here's how it went. Here's what I would do differently. And here's what I'm going to keep on doing. So it's really, really in that spirit of a mastermind approach to doing leadership and corporate coach training. So let's open it up for a couple of questions there, Kara, to see what people have. You can type them in. Technically, you could raise your hand as well, and I could have you talk. But what other questions do you guys have that we can answer? Because we are happy to do that. Okay, so Beth, let's see. Are you there, Beth?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Thanks. Sorry, I do have a lot of questions today. So the bounce meeting, I took this hour off from writing a proposal, and I was putting in a sustainability piece to it. But are you suggesting that you do a bounce meeting after this is like a 3-day meeting to digest it, and that looks more credible to the team, even though there needs to be sustainability?
Oh, totally. So what I would recommend doing is in the proposal is say, the 3-day training, this is what it's going to cover, this is what we're going to do, etc. 1 week after the training, we'll have observation and recommendation, evaluation observation meeting to be able to share trends, things we noticed, opportunities, etc., that will help with long-term stickability.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Yep. Anything else?
Probably, but not right now.
Okay. All
Thank
right.
you.
Let us know. Okay, good. Other questions coming up that you guys have? Go ahead and raise your hand or type them in. I'll lower the hand. Okay, so I'm just sort of getting here. Anything else there, Kara?
Nope.
Awesome. So here's the skinny and the scoop, you guys. We are going to have, oh, I forgot to show. We do have another training. It's going to be coming up next week.
As part of this series.
As part of this series, exactly. It's a free call, and it's basically what teams want, exploring team coaching trends. So we're going to talk a little bit and share some insights about what is happening with teams, what are we noticing, how much do you do peer coaching, how much is there workshops, and we're also going to be referencing Choice Magazine, which is a coaching magazine that their whole edition right now is on team coaching. So we're going to be sharing what some of those experts say and then what Karen and I have to say. So you guys are fantastic. We're so glad that you are a part of this. Karen, we are wrapping this up like no tomorrow. And we really appreciate you guys. And we look forward to next week.
Email us. Questions, thoughts, comments. Email us. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.